Hey there, it is December 13th, 2018. I am here at my pop-up's house and I am going to do a legacy video.
My name is Barry Donald Colbert, and now I'm a senior because I have a son that I named Barry Colbert. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, May 11th, 1943. I have a brother and two sisters. Right now I'm 75 years old. I have a sister that's 79 and a brother 81 and a sister 83. My sister's name, oldest sister, is Mary Lou, and my brother's name is Bob, and my youngest sister's name is Donna.
To get to know him as I know him, he's going to tell some stories about his life and just some facts about him. And I think that this will be a great opportunity for all of you to get to know my grandfather.
When I was about 5 years old, we moved from Pittsburgh back to Uniontown, Pennsylvania, and my dad became a coal miner again. He was Samuel Earl Colbert, and my mother was Gertrude Pauline Colbert.
I didn't know her name was Gertrude.
Her maiden name is Ryland, R-Y-L-A-N-D. And then he got a job in Newark, Delaware at the Chrysler plant making tanks. Come from a family of, there was 8, and he was next to the youngest one. Oh, he was a good dad. Really never played with me much outside, you know, because he was busy with the union and working. But I don't know how much he was into sports himself. He liked sports and watched them, but he never come outside and played with me, you know. Never threw the football with me or baseball or nothing like that. When I was younger, when I was, say, 13, 14, 12 years old, something like that. But I used to go outside, and when I go outside, I kick the football and go get it and kick it back the other way. One way and third the other, because I was playing by myself. I had some neighbors, but they were girls. My mom, she was one of 4 children in her family. She was the oldest, of course, born in 1911. My grandfather and my grandmother, I didn't really get to see him too much, but when I did see him, it was when I was younger. But we also, when we moved to Delaware, we would go back to Uniontown, Pennsylvania to visit her side of the family, because her side of the family was still there. Nobody from my dad's side of the family was still in Uniontown where he was born. So we would go back and visit them, and I had a cousin that was a year younger than me, so I usually stayed over at his house and played with him. You know, rode bicycles, played ball and everything like that. My mom, she was a good mom. She'd give me a few whippings when I was younger. Maybe 2 or 3 of them I didn't deserve, but when she would give me a whipping, I'd have to go outside and get a little switch off of a tree, little branch, and she would switch me on the butt and the legs.
You had to go get your own weapon.
I had to go get my own weapon, yeah. And she would whip me. And I knew the only way she would stop if I started crying. So I started crying. Probably like 2 or 3 of them I deserved. I started a fire under the back porch of our house in Uniontown, which wasn't a good idea. I don't know how I did that, I don't remember. But also back then when I was 6 years old, I got a scar on my hand right here. There's a scar right there. You can see it. Anyway, we was down the back of my house, and there was a fire going, and there was a bucket of tar. It didn't have much tar in it, maybe of a 5-gallon bucket, only maybe about that much tar was in it. But the boy I was down there with me, he kicked the bucket, and he kicked it at me, and the tar came on my hand. And I was screaming. It was, the pain was terrible. And I tried to wipe it off, and you can't see it, but I got some scars right here from where the tar was too. That was probably my worst accident ever, other than when I was a baby. When I was a baby, I used to go into convulsions. Dad, to get me out of the convulsions, he would stick me under the cold water on the sink, and that would bring me out of the convulsions. And I don't know how they cleared that up, but that only happened, I don't know how many times, maybe 2 or 3 times he had to do that to me. But I never had no problems with that after that. But sports, I played Little League, and I was on the All-Star team, and we was playing another team from down in Maryland. I didn't get to start the game, but I come in the last inning as a pinch hitter, and there was a man 2 outs and a man on third base, and I laid down the perfect bunt, and the ball went down the third base line. That guy came in and scored, and I got to first base safe. We won the game. I got laid off from Chrysler. They laid the whole second shift off, everybody. So here I am thinking, what am I going to do for a job? Here I am, 19 years old, got all these older men in here with experience, with families and everything. Where am I going to find a job at? I know what I'll do. I'm going to go into the Air Force. So that's what I did. I joined the Air Force in February 9th of 1962. I went to basic training down in San Antonio, Texas. Then I went to school in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was in air traffic control in the weapons department. And what we did, we had big radar scopes about like this, and we could see all the aircraft flying in the air, probably like the western part of the United States, up into Canada, out into the ocean. And we would run intercept missions. We would run F-101s against other F-101s. They would come in at them at different positions, come in at the back, or come in at the on the side, or come head on, just practicing shooting down enemy airplanes. We also run them against bombers, B-52s, and of course against other F-101s mainly. The President Kennedy was getting ready to send bombers down to Cuba to bomb the Russian missiles that they were putting there. And when I was going to work that day, I had to drive by the runway where all the planes took off and landed, and out there on the runway was 4 B-52s, it was called a KC-135 refueling plane that would refuel the tankers. Okay. And there was about 5 F-101s. They were all out on the runway. Some of them taxiing up and down the runway, but they all had their engines running, and the sound was deafening. It was so loud, you've never heard anything that loud being that close to them. And to see these planes out there getting ready to take off to go to Cuba to bomb them. And then Nikita Khrushchev, I think it was, the president of Russia, he called a cease and he pulled all the missiles out. So we didn't send any planes, we didn't take any planes off or send them down that way. That was my first bit of experience. My second one was, we had radar scope, like I say, and I could see B-52s going up Canada on a radar scope, and they go up there and they go around the North Pole and they just circle up there, waiting for orders to go bomb someplace. So you could see them going up there, and they're up there for, I don't know how long, Olivia, 12 hours or something, but then you could see another one going up, and that one coming back down. They were replacing each other's position. One was going up, one was coming back. But the biggest surprise was, it was near the end of my tour. It was about in 1965, because I got out of Air Force in 1966, February 8th, a day short of 4 years. They do that for some reason. But anyway, on our radar scope, most planes that you see out over the ocean are going, here's the radar scope, they would be going up this way. There'd be like 6 or 7 of them, but they were all passengers planes going to Europe. Never seen any planes come in straight at the United States, except for one day we seen a plane coming in, so we called the FAA, and we asked them if they had any identification on that plane. They said no, they don't. They have nothing showing that any plane should be coming that way, coming into the United States. After a little while, what they decided to do, since he wouldn't answer no phone calls from nobody, from us or from the FAA, we scrambled 2 F-101 fighters ready to shoot down anything. And that comes from Otis Air Force Base in Massachusetts. So they came down, and they got in back of the airplane. And they was trying to contact this plane too, but he wouldn't answer nobody, still wouldn't answer us, wouldn't answer the FAA. So, and the pilots told us he's making all kind of strange maneuvers. He's turning sharp to the right, he's turning sharp to the left, he's going up in the air real fast, and then he's going down real fast. So we was trying to get a closer look at it to see who it was, and of course they never answered us. So our commander decided to turn the afterburners on of the F-101s and make them go faster. And when they turned their afterburners on, they couldn't get no closer to the airplane. And he was still making all these funny moves, turning left and turning right, moves that none of our planes could do. And after a while, he disappeared off the radar scope. To this day, I've never seen a UFO. I never believed in them before, but since that happened, I believe in UFOs because our airplanes had it on their radar, FAA had it on their radars, and we had it on our radars. We had one of the best radars along with the FAA, but the plane just disappeared. What happened to it?
Yeah.
You know, to me, it was an unidentified flying object. I've never seen one, like I say, and I kind of still have a doubt about them, but I can't when I seen that, you know? When I seen what happened, I was right there. I had the headphones on. I could hear the pilots talking to one another. And to my commander, who sits next to me, who controlled the planes, he would tell me, you to put a certain altitude in. I push a certain altitude in for that airplane, and the airplane would get that message and fly up to that altitude, or turn right or left. But a lot of things they did on their own too. But that was amazing. And I've never heard anything about it. It was never in a newspaper, never on television. I think the Air Force wanted to keep it hush hush. But also in 1962, before I went up to Michigan where I was stationed, K.I. Sawyer in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan got married. Pauline Ford, she kind of planned everything. It wasn't something I really wanted to do, but I went along with it because I did love her at the time.
Where did you meet her?
In Christiana, right down the road from where I grew up.
Okay.
And that's where I hang out most of the time, at the firehouse there with all my buddies. And we were all within 2, 3, 4 years of one another. We would jump on the back of the fire trucks to go to house fires, car accidents, field fires, anything like that. So I was training, more or less training, to be a firefighter for the Christiana Fire Company. And my first son was born in 1965. He was born in Syracuse, New York. He was born February 3rd, 1965. And my son Brian, after I got out of the service, come back to Delaware, he was born in Wilmington, Delaware, January 27th, 1967. We had another baby, a little girl named Brandy Joy Colbert. And she was born January 21st, 1970. I met a girl up in Ohio that my mom introduced me to. And my mom says she's the sweetest thing you'll ever meet. So when I went up there to meet her, her name was Pan Justin. Didn't turn out to be the woman I thought she was going to be. She was mean to her mother, used to cuss her mother out, say bad things to her mother, and tried to boss me. Pam and I got married in 1979, and I had a job working for a tugboat company up there. We had 45 tugboats. It was called the Great Lakes Towing Company, and we towed 98% of all the ships on the Great Lakes in and out of the ports of Buffalo, Cleveland, Toledo, Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, Duluth, Minnesota. And the ships would come in. If they wanted a tugboat or two, they would call me on the radio, and I worked in this little room, and I had 7 radios in there coming out of all these ports. So I could hear all the traffic going on, everybody talking. And they're not supposed to talk on channel 18. You're supposed to say, call somebody, call Olivia. This is Great Lakes Towing Company. And once they answered, you'd say, go to channel 18, please. And you go to channel 18, and then you could talk to them, and nobody else could hear you unless they went to channel 18. I was working, when my daughter was born, was called American Hearst. We made plastic, rigid plastic, that you would melt over top of toys or tools or anything like that. We would make them in big sheets. They were probably 2,000 pounds round, heavy, and they were probably like, I'd say 65 inches wide. And that's the way we made it. And then we had slitters that would cut it down into smaller pieces for the customer. And then we shipped that out. And I was a lab technician there. I worked at American Hearst about 10 years, I guess. Yeah, I worked about 10 years. I got fired for refusing overtime. I worked overtime the night before. I worked by myself. The next night he wanted somebody to stay overtime too, but there was 4 other lab technicians there. I said, well, what about so-and-so and so-and-so and these other guys? I worked last night, you know, and I got 2 boys home, married. I'm not married at this time. He says, well, I want you to work. I said, I'm not coming in. I'm not staying over. So I went home, and the next day, he called me into his office and told me I was fired for refusing overtime when I worked the night before. Worked a lot of overtime for him, Olivia. A lot of overtime. Grandchild, I have 2 of them. My oldest one is Barry's daughter, Olivia. She's 20 years old, born February 28th, 1998. And my grandson, Chris, they call him CJ. He was born May 1st, 1998. So they're only a couple months apart. And I retired in 2005. I shouldn't have retired, but I did. But I had it made in my mind that I wanted to retire and enjoy life a little bit before I died. I didn't know when I was going to die. Of course, nobody does. And then I retired. That's it. And I'm still retired. And I've had no other job since then. When I retired from the post office in 2005, I had a lady friend. She was married. She was like my best friend. She's still my best friend. Her name is Michelle Benton. They have no children. They've been married probably 20 years, I guess, or longer. But anyway, she can't get pregnant. She don't want to get pregnant now because she's 50 years old. So they're not going to have no children. But her and I used to go up to Delaware Park and bet on the horses and play the slot machines. We would take $200 or $300 up there, play like $100 on the horses, and the other $200 on slot machines. And our biggest win was on a Friday night. We won $20,000. Yes, we won $20,000. It was called a 10 times machine. It was a $10 machine. It was a 2 credit. So we was playing 2 credits all the time. It was our last $100, and it was like about 5 minutes before the place closed, and we hit red 7, a 10 times, and a red 7 for $20,000. That was my biggest win. I mean, I've won other times, 5,000, 3,000, 2,000. I won a lot of money playing the slots, not a lot playing the horses. You know, they're all gambling anyway, but now I don't do either one of them. Now I just pretty much at my age, pretty much just get on the computer and watch television. But I did have, when I was 3 years ago, I had a stroke, and then three months later I had a heart attack, and they did a dialysis on my kidney, and they took 30 pounds of water out of my body. So I went from like a 150-pound guy down to a 120-pound guy. So I've lost a lot of weight and really haven't gained a lot of it back, and had some few issues since then, but right now I'm doing good. Glad to see my granddaughters here, my son. Haven't seen him for a while. That's probably pretty much. I don't really do too much. I don't have any other friends that I do things with, or I don't go out to dinner and things like that. Maybe fast food every now and then, but not to go in and sit down, you know. I'm more of a fast food guy.
Okay.
When I get the fast food, I eat it right away when it's warm.
Yeah.
I can't bring it home like my kids do, like Brandy does. She brings it, she eat it an hour later when it's cold. Ooh. Brandy lives with me. Barry lives down in Florida with Gail and Olivia's mother and Gail. And Brian, my son Brian, lives up in Philadelphia with his girlfriend, and they don't have any children either. But they get along really good. She has 2 boys and a grandchild. Now she's going to have 2 more grandchildren. So she's going to have 3. But
All right, so I want to wrap up the video with just a few more questions. Now that you're 75 years old and you've lived for 7 decades, do you have any advice for young adults or for your great-grandchildren?
Yeah, for my great-grandchildren, the advice I would have is do not smoke cigarettes, do not smoke pot, even though I guess pot ain't as bad as like heroin and cocaine and things like that, but don't drink, don't smoke for sure, don't drink, and be a nice person. Be a nice person to everybody, as many people as you can. And closing up, I want to show you a picture here. This is a picture of Jesus. I got out of a book one time. I really liked the picture, but on top of it, I put his name up here, and right in here, it says "Believe in Me," and this part down here is actually like John 3:16, but I put it into my own words. I said, because God loved the human race so much that He gave His only begotten Son, Jesus, to be sacrificed to save their souls. That anyone who believes in Jesus will not face God's judgment, but receive everlasting life in heaven.
Amen.
And I put these in stores. I walk around in stores and lay them here and there, which some stores don't like, but I do it anyway until they tell me not to. And I also mail them out. I mail them out to different religions that I know don't believe in Jesus. And I go on Google Map and I type in what I'm looking for, the religion I'm looking for, the city and the state, and it'll show me all the temples of that religion. I write the address down, and I get this paper here. Here's my picture of Jesus. What I do is, like I say, I find the address of the temples of these different religions that I know do not believe in Jesus. And I get this picture and I put it in this folder like this, and I address envelopes, because when I go on Google Map, it'll show me the picture of their temple and also their address. So I write the name of the temple on there and the address and put a stamp on the envelope and stick it in the mailbox. And it goes to that temple. I don't know who opens it. They might have a secretary. But I don't care who opens it. I'm after the person who sees this picture of Jesus. And hopefully they'll believe in Him if they don't. Because this is the only way you can go to heaven, is to believe in Jesus.
Right.
That He died for your sins so that you can go to heaven. And that's what I spend a lot of time doing this. I get these on a sheet of paper. There's 4 of them on a sheet of paper. And I put like 5 of them together and I cut out borderline around it. And then I address, like I say, I address all the envelopes. Go through there, put this in, put it in the envelope, put a stamp on it, stick it up in the mailbox. That's my most favorite thing to do now.
Okay.
Is to tell people about Jesus.
Good. All right, last question. You ready?
Okay.
How do you want to be remembered?
I wanted to be remembered as just a nice guy. I was always friendly with everybody. You know, I was never in no fights, never started no fights. I was enjoyed playing sports with my male friends, and just be a nice person. Be a nice person to everybody. Hold the door open for them, you know. Let them go in before you. If they're going out, open the door for them. Let them go out first. And just do whatever you can for other people, your neighbors, friends. Just basically be a good person and accept Jesus as your Savior.
That's good advice. Well, thank you for doing this video pop-up.
Oh,
I really
you're more than
appreciate
welcome,
it.
Olivia.
I love you.
I love doing it. I love you very much too. I hope a few people get to see it, and I hope they enjoy it.